Welcome back to Real Talk with Kietta. We're sitting here with Siohvaughn Wade, ex-wife of Dwayne Wade, and her friend Najee, the last friend standing. Because basically, Siohvaughn, the people that you thought were your friends, when you and Dwayne started to go through your turmoils and start breaking up, what happened to those people that you thought were your friends?
I realized they weren't. They all went away. No more phone calls. You know, when I wasn't the one on the red carpet or going to the mall or flying in private planes, none of them wanted to be around me. That was it. I lost every friend I had except for one.
Because she obviously was your true friend.
Yes, and when my Cadillac truck broke down and I literally had to walk, me and my children.
I'm sorry. This was in Miami?
This was here in Chicago.
In Chicago. Your car broke down.
Yes, it did.
And you had to walk because you was, I don't understand this.
I wasn't receiving enough funds to be able to just go and trade the car in or otherwise purchase another one.
Did you receive child support from Dwayne?
3 months out of this entire time, and that's it.
So I'm here in Chicago, and I actually came to court where Siohvaughn had a court hearing today. And I must tell you, honestly, seriously, this was like the most chaotic scene that I have ever witnessed. Dwayne Wade's attorney, Mr. Pritikin, he would not answer any questions because I did ask him, was he trying to continue to delay the trial because Dwayne's book is coming out? Of course he ran for me. It was good because I needed some exercise. But at the same time, I could not believe he wouldn't answer any questions for me. And I said, Siohvaughn, what were you all coming here to try to resolve today?
Well, I haven't saw my children in 3 weeks. Last time I saw them was August 3rd.
So the motion today was about your children? You sent your children?
That was one of them, yes.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be reimbursed for travel expenses.
Okay.
So that I'm able to see my children. Right now, I'm not in a financial position to be able to afford to.
But he was court ordered to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am, we was.
Okay. And so the judge, again, there was no resolve on that today. How do you feel coming out the courtroom today, Siohvaughn?
I feel that I came out again without justice. And I feel that what's being done to me, is affecting my children. And that makes me feel awful. Because now, it's not just that I haven't saw my children, because they haven't saw their mother for 3 weeks now. And for the last 3 weeks, I've had the worst time even being able to have a conversation with them on the phone.
Well, as a mother, anytime you don't know where your children's well-being, how their well-being is, and you don't know where they are, and you can't speak to them, that constitutes an emergency. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, ma'am, I do agree. Yes, especially when you have children as small as I do, 10 years old and 5 years old, and they're not understanding, why they can't see their mom. That's definitely an emergency.
Well, let me say this, and I want your children are ever watching, know that your mother is doing everything she can do to actually get you back and to see you.
Other than that, I use my savings to support my family, to support my children and myself.
Well, why is it that he only paid child support for 3 months? And you all actually, the divorce was filed in 2008.
Yes.
So it was at least 3 years before he was awarded custody after your long custody battle. Why were you not receiving child support during that time?
I'm not certain why. My attorneys filed for child support several times.
Were you awarded it?
I received child support for 3 months, and that was it. So no, I wasn't awarded child support. I wasn't awarded any back child support. I literally had to live off of my savings, and I'm still living off of my savings. Right now, I'm not in a position where I get enough money to even pay my own bills. I have a motion pending in court right now to pay back bills.
Well, I just want to be clear. When you say you wasn't awarded, the court did award you child support, is it that Dwayne hasn't paid, or that you were not granted child support?
No, it's that the court didn't award it at all. It was the 3 months and nothing other than that. We asked for it several times, and the last time I asked for it, there was a delay. Mr. Wade had then asked for me to have to take a paternity test for Zion, our youngest son. And so that took a delay, and that slowed down the process for me.
Okay, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry. Dwayne asked for a paternity test for your child.
Yes.
Okay. And how did that make you feel?
Terrible. Terrible. Angry. I felt the timing was certainly not a coincidence. I was constantly saying, I need funds to be able to support my children. at least for them, not so much myself, spousal support, but just give me what these children need so that I can support them, because after you live off savings for so long, it dwindles down.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. I'm just asking questions that I know that people want to know. I mean, there was some transcripts that showed someone testified against you, one of your so-called friends, who was an ex-friend, and actually said that you confided in her that you had affairs. So, if someone told Dwayne that, you don't think that he would have had doubts that that was his child?
Well, she actually said that, I believe what she said was that the child was someone else's. She had said that. And so we did the paternity test, and obviously it's his son. But no, because we planned to have Zion, and it was actually Mr. Wade's idea to extend the family. So it was on purpose. I stopped taking all birth control on purpose. We planned it. I went to the doctor to make sure that I was in health. I had began taking prenatal vitamins ahead of time and taking care of myself, consulting with obstetricians at that time. So I would think that it was crazy that he would go along with that. And also, this was the same person who had, at one time when she left our life, she had, began making rumors and accusations that Mr. Wade was treating her very badly, that he was being very oppressive to her, that he was gay, that he was doing things with his teammates, and she lived in our home. And I knew at that time the accusations she made weren't true. And so I know that I defended myself against her lies during the custody trial, but there was a time before the custody trial that Mr. Wade had to defend himself against her lies also. And so when he called on her to be a witness, I was thinking, this is the same person that, outside of a courtroom was testifying against his own character. Nevertheless, he called her anyway.
Najee, you were in Miami, because you all met in Miami. So you were there when Siohvaughn was going through what she was going through. And Siohvaughn, you also mentioned to me that Dwayne actually abandoned you all, you and your children, and the children didn't see him for 3 months.
3 months straight.
Is that so he didn't see the children at all?
Not for 3 months straight.
But was it because you was in Chicago, or maybe he was playing games, or
no,
he was playing a game?
We were still in the house in Florida, the house that we lived in together while we were married. We didn't change addresses. We didn't change schools for the children. We were in the same place that we had been, while we were in Florida. But he disappeared for 3 months straight. I did reach out or try to contact him. I would call. I would send text messages. I would have our older son call and leave his dad a voicemail. And he would do things like he's coming or he's going to come, and he wouldn't show up. So that was very hard, because our younger son, he didn't know what was going on, but he was affected, because by the time the 3 months passed and Mr. Wade decided to show back up in their life, he responded to Mr. Wade like a stranger. He would literally cry hysterically. He was reaching out for the housekeeper to take him out of the arms of his own father, because he did not know him. And then for the older child, it was disappointing and sad, because there were times when he would wait, and anytime a car would come and turn around in our cul-de-sac and he saw the lights, he was thinking, oh, Daddy came back, or he's coming. And the hour would go, and another hour would pass, and then eventually it was bedtime, and I would have to tell him, you're going to have to go to sleep. And he's like, oh, his dad said he was coming. It was awful. It was terrible.
Well, Siohvaughn, let me ask you this, and I'm not making no excuses for no man not seeing their children. Let's just be clear with that. But were you mean to Dwayne? Were you constantly arguing at him maybe? Do you think he maybe refrained from coming to the home because he thought your reaction was going to be explosive? I mean, I'm just asking, because did he give you a valid reason as to why he didn't come see the children for 3 months?
Oh no, when I tried to find out what his reasoning was, I was told, don't ask him any MFing questions. He's a grown A man, shut the F up. That never went well. That never went well. To the point where I just stopped. I stopped asking and stopped trying to figure it out. But as to whether there was anything that I did, no, it wasn't. I was very, very broken. I wasn't in a position, I didn't have the strength to fight like that. Every bit of strength I had, I fought for myself to stay stable and in a condition and in a place where I could take care of my children and console them when I needed to, because the both of them were very broken also. So I didn't have the strength or the energy to fight or curse or yell. I was literally broken.
So you didn't yell when you found out he was going with Gabrielle Union?
No, I didn't. Yelling wasn't my reaction.
Do you consider Gabrielle Union to be a homeworker?
I don't consider Gabrielle Union at all.
Okay. Najee, I'm going to ask you this question. You were there, and I'm going to read something, and I just want to see what you all have to say. An article in April of Jet Magazine, Gabrielle Union actually spoke. She actually said that, I'm quoting her, the question was asked, how does she feel about the mean things her fans and other women say about her? I'm quoting her, she says, I think people mistook me taking the high road as an admission of guilt. Dwayne and I made a decision very early to not react to negativity, and I keep feeling like the truth will come out. The problem is, when it did, nobody cared. What I discovered on social media is that people don't really read the entire story. Najee, I'm asking you, you're her friend, you were there, I'm asking you what happened, what is the truth, what's the story?
I saw a family being divided. I not only see a wife that lost a husband, but children that lost their father.
True, Siohvaughn?
Separated and divorced are two different things. I'm not certain, when it happened or when she happened, but I know that I was very married. I know that, me and Dwayne at that time had talks about reconciliation. We went back and forth. I was still even intimate sometimes with my then husband. So does that constitute, sleeping or having an affair with somebody's husband? Yes, I'm not certain. To me, divorce and separation are always two different things. That's just the way that I was raised. And if that's the high road, I'm going to consider whether I should take it or not.
Well, I want to ask you this, and it's up to you if you want to, however you want to answer it. Siohvaughn, let me ask you this. It was in the media that Dwayne and Gabrielle, your husband, was in the media with this woman, and they were parading around town as a couple. And for years, I've never seen you do an interview discussing that matter. I've never read any transcripts or never read any comments that you made pertaining to Dwayne and Gabrielle, even though you were still married to him. What would cause you years later to actually file a lawsuit against her?
Because the lawsuit wasn't about any relationship that the two of them may have, or had, whether it was while we were married, during, or after. The lawsuit was about her having a negative effect on my children. That's what that lawsuit was about. And when her behavior and the things she did and said began to affect my sons, that's when I opened my mouth and did something about it.
Najee, you were there with Siohvaughn, and you witnessed what she was going through. You witnessed that she was quiet, because earlier you even told me that a lot of stuff you didn't say out of fear. How did you confide, and first of all, what was her mindset? How did she make it through? And how were you being a good friend to her during these tumultuous times?
It was not easy. The little strength that she had to share between carrying on herself and being a mother was lying as a year. And not only a mother, but she became a father at the same time for both of them.
Wow.
Because of the absence of their own father.
So Dwayne wasn't coming around to see them that much?
No. She will make her own to go see games, to try to make him see the children in the parking lot after he would come out. I remember at one occasion, he stopped and Zaire hugged him and asked him, Dad, can I go with you? And he said no. And he said, why? And he said, because I'm going to go to sleep in a park, in a bench in the park. And he said, well, I'll go with you over there, Dad. And he said, no, I don't want you to come with me. And the whole time going back to the house and even to the next day, he was crying because of that response from his dad.
Siohvaughn, During your custody battle with your ex-husband, Dr. Phyllis Amable, who is a board-certified psychiatrist and forensic psychiatrist appointed by the court as an expert on custody and visitation. She also is an attorney as well. She had some good attributes to say about you and Dwayne, okay? Nobody's perfect, I realize that. For you, she described your bond as unbelievable and you were very attached. She said that your strengths are you're loving, you're affectionate, you're consistent, and you're predictable. Now, as far as for Dwayne, she also found it that he demonstrated patience, empathy, and sincere love for his children. Now, my question to you is, after reading this transcript, which I read, this is where I'm getting this information from, in 2010, Dr. Amable actually said in her report that she felt as though that if joint custody was awarded, that you should be the residential custodial parent. She also was appointed by the judge to do a supplemental evaluation, psychiatric evaluation of both you and Dwayne. And it was asked of her if sole custody had to be given, which parent should receive sole custody. And again, she stated that it should be you. Can you explain to me why a court-appointed forensic psychiatrist said these things, yet you do not have custody of your children?
I'm not sure why that happened, or how that came about. You know, she was obviously a very credible witness. She was a court-appointed.
So she was a court-appointed witness. So this was not your witness or Dwayne's witness. This was a court-appointed witness from the court. I mean, what happened, Siohvaughn? Do you know?
Honestly, what my opinion is, and what I believe happened, is Mr. Wade had the fame and the money, the fame and the fortune. You know, that wasn't just her. There was the school administrator came in to testify.
During the custody battle between Siohvaughn Wade and her ex-husband Dwayne, were you actually deposed by the court to give an account of what you knew about the situation?
Yes, I was.
Why?
I'm not exactly sure why. You know, they asked me things like, what type of a parent was she? You know, different things. I witnessed her interaction with her children. They asked me things about Najee and her relationship with the children, and you know, how I felt she dealt with the children, those types of things.
I'm going to ask you this, Mrs. Artist, and I don't, please, for whatever reason, don't think I'm being disrespectful or I'm demeaning your professionalism, but I want to ask you an honest question.
Sure.
As a Christian, as a professional, and as a mother,
Yes.
how do you honestly view Siohvaughn Wade as a parent to those boys?
I view Siohvaughn Wade as a loving mother who only wants the best for her children. And she's displayed that numerous of times on numerous occasions. I watch the interaction between her and the children. I see the love there. You know, I see the respect for her there. And I just think she wants what's best for her children, as any mother would.
Yes. I also want to ask you, you say you interacted with the children, the boys, outside of the classroom.
Yes.
How did you interact with them at home with the boys?
Well, sometimes as the relationship between us grew, I had occasion sometimes to be at the house. And I would be there, kind of help out a little bit, watching them sometimes. And sometimes I would go upstairs with Zion. Zion is a bubbly little fella, and he loves to share and show you things. And so he wanted to show me his bedroom and explore in there. And when we got up there, I noticed he had a library.
Wow.
And most of his library books were on dinosaurs. And so I found out he has a real fascination with dinosaurs.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes,
to be
it
that
is.
young and that interested
he
in
loves
something.
the dinosaurs, and he's very knowledgeable on them. He can name every dinosaur, and he would say to me, "Miss Arvis, don't you know what this is?" And then he would tell me what the dinosaur was. We would stay in there, and I would read to him out of the books. And you know, sometimes he knew the book, and he would tell me what was going to happen in advance before we got to it. And we would just enjoy each other.
Mrs. Artis, I know sometimes people may think that you have a vested interest in what you're saying.
Sure.
The reason why I was asking you before as a professional, because I know you have to take your personal feelings aside.
Right.
If you, like you're saying, you love those children too, obviously, you want what's best for the children as well.
Yes.
Because it's not about this person or that person or who you like the most. It's what's best for the children.
Exactly.
And how do you honestly feel, if you don't mind sharing with me, about Siohvaughn no longer having custody of her children?
Well, I wasn't too happy to hear the outcome of the custody case. I know those children love their mother, and I know she does the best she can with them. I know they want to be with her.
How do you know?
Well, I just see the interaction between them. And when you have children, children let you know what's going on. And so they would talk about their mother. Zion's little eyes would light up when he talked about his mother. When she would show up at the school or show up at the house, he would just get so excited. So you can see the love that's there. So, I just know that they love their mother.
Well, can I ask you another question? And again, if you're comfortable with stating this. You see how you said how they light up with their mother?
Yes.
Have you ever seen them that way about their father?
Well, I didn't have that much interaction with their father.
Okay.
It was very limited.
Okay.
The occasions I had to be in his presence. Sometimes it was when he dropped the kids off. Sometimes it was when he picked the kids up.
Okay.
But the interviews were so brief and short. I really can't give a good opinion as to the interaction between them.
Okay. Have you ever sat down after the custody decision from the court and tried, because I know you can, but try to imagine how Siohvaughn must feel right now?
Yes. I can imagine that she's very, very torn and she's very hurt. And I know her heart is hurting for her children. It's not a good feeling when children leave their parents home. And so I know that she's hurting very deeply for her children. And I know that she's praying, that someday she'll be able to have them back in their home.
As a teacher, you have witnessed other children, random children that you can tell don't have a nice home life.
Sure.
Did you feel that way about those children?
No, not at all. Like I said, I had occasion to be at the house. So I witnessed a lot of things that went on at the house. And so, she provides a good, stable home for them, and she does a lot of things with them. I had occasion to be at a little birthday party for Zion recently, and she had went out of her way to surprise them with a gift. And when they realized what she had done, they just lit up so, and they were out there in the backyard romping and just having a good time. And you could see the look on her face, the pleasure that she was pleasing her children like that. So there's a lot of love there.
Well, and I want to be honest with you with the questions I ask, because I want to be fair and balanced, because this is what this is about.
Sure.
But the accusations that were made that Siohvaughn is mentally unstable, do you agree with that?
I don't agree with it because, to my knowledge, I've never seen anything that would indicate that her behavior, she has that type of behavior. I've only seen, a caring Christian part of her. So no, I'm not in agreement with it because I've never seen that.
Did it upset you when you heard that?
Yes, very much so. Yes.
What actually impressed you the most about the children?
Well, they're very good kids, and they're very happy, and they're very content, and that comes from having a good, stable home life. And they do little things that make me laugh and smile a lot. I can recall one incident. We were in the car headed home, and Zaire had a book in the car, and I was talking to him about the book, and I just happened to say, I said, "What is your favorite book?" And he said, "You really want to know, Miss Arvis?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "It's the Bible." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Well, tell me a little bit about it." I said, "What's your favorite story in the Bible?" He said, "It's Joseph." I said, "So you know the story of Joseph?" Just kidding with him. And he said, "Of course I do. It's my favorite story." I said, "Well, tell me a little bit about it." So he started to tell me about the story of Joseph.
Wow.
And he knew the story. And I was very impressed with that. So he had a birthday that was coming up in the future. And I said, well, if he's that taken with Joseph, I'm going to surprise him with something about Joseph. So for his birthday, I gave him a video of the story of Joseph. And he thanked me for it. He was so happy about it.
I thank you for that too. I do, and I think it's so important, and it's awesome that, you know, children are reading, because sometimes, you know, children, some parents can't afford to take their children out of town or to different countries or whatever, but traveling through a book, a lot of times, I used to be a teacher myself, so I can see the passion in your eyes, and that's why I respect that so much. Do you miss them, Miss Artist?
I miss them so much. Yes, I do. And whenever I talk to Ms. Wade, I tell her, you know, tell them hello for me. Tell them I'm thinking about them. I love them. Yes, I love them very, very much.
And I'm sure they love you too. What do you wish, as far as any resolve from this matter with the children and Siohvaughn and Dwayne?
Well, I would like to see them placed back with their mother. I just think that they're at a very young, tender age, and I'm not, you know, I'm sure their father loves them very much, but when you're that young and impressionable, I think maybe your mother can provide a little bit more of what you need until you get a little older. And so I would love to see them given back to their mother, and I know that that's what she wants. I know she's praying that that'll happen one day.
Well, Miss Artist, it's so commendable of you to love those boys, take out time with them, and want what's best for them. But you are going to be, some people may perceive this as you're siding with Siohvaughn because you have a more personal relationship with her. And lastly, your thoughts, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I don't believe that I'm siding with her. I'm giving you my genuine, honest opinion. And I just think that because they are so young right now, I just think that they may, you know, do better in the care of their mother. Like I said earlier, I'm sure their father loves them very much. I'm sure he does. But I just think that, you know, she's maybe able to provide some things that he can't right now.
Like time.
Exactly. And then, you know, there are some things that, you know, only a mother can fix. When there's problems going on with your children, or they're upset about something, and they, you know, that little mother touch is something special. And so, you know, for that, I just think that, you know, I would love to see them back in her care.
Well, Miss Artist, thank you so much for, listen, you're so pretty, okay? And I enjoyed you so much.
I enjoyed you.
And I'm sure that because you're a mother as well.
Yes.
Your children are lucky and blessed
Thank you
to
so
have
much.
a wonderful, caring, honest, genuine mother like you.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that you were able to be in the boys' lives. And I'm sure that they remember you. And I know one day that you'll be seeing them again real soon.
Yes, I'm praying for that.
Thank you, Ms. Artist.
Thank you.
Teachers were deposed. There were therapists that had reported Mr. Wade to DCFS for being abusive. You know, to Zaire.
Therapists reporting him for being abusive?
Yes.
Well, I do see in this report that Dr. Mobley mentioned Mr. Fist. Can you explain to me who is Mr. Fist and what is Mr. Fist about?
Well, Mr. Wade, in disciplining Zaire, would take his closed fist and literally punch our son in the chest. He hit him hard, so hard one November. I remember because my mom and my grandmother were up in Miami during Thanksgiving, that Zaire literally slid across the floor in the house and had a full-blown asthma attack. And so he would ball his fists up and punch him in the chest as a means to discipline him. And he would call his fist and refer to it as Mr. Fist. So in disciplining him, he would say, you know, Zaire, do you want Mr. Fist? And that all came out too during this forensic evaluation, because the children were also evaluated by this forensic psychiatrist.
What were the results? What did your children actually go through while you all were going through the separation, this custody battle? Did you notice any differences within your children? How were they affected?
Well, in the 3 months that Mr. Wade wasn't around and had no contact at all, no physical contact at all with Zion or Zaire, 3 months consecutively, Zion responded, not knowing him. There was no bond, there was no attachment. He was missing, every day when he was, a baby and growing and changing rapidly. And so he responded to him as a stranger. Zaire knew him. Obviously, he was older. And so Zaire was very saddened by the fact that, for 3 months straight, he didn't see him or didn't hear from him. But there were other things that happened too that had an effect. It wasn't just the separation, and it wasn't just ultimately the divorce that had effect on these children. There were so many other things going on, behind closed doors.
Well, you mentioned your son was balding at one time. How did that happen?
Well, one night he was on the phone with his dad, and his dad, I could hear him yelling. He was so loud, and he was telling him, stop crying, men don't cry, man the F up, stop effing crying, and all of the yelling and the cursing, and it really upset him. It wasn't just the cursing, but even him telling him or making him feel like something was wrong with the fact that he was crying or that something had made him sad, and it had a really bad effect on Zaire. His hair literally began to fall out, and that night he said, Mom, I just want to die. And that didn't have anything to do with the separation or the divorce or custody. That was direct behavior and treatment of his dad towards him. So it wasn't just Mr. Fist, and that physical harm done to him. It was also the verbal abuse. You don't speak to a child. You don't curse and tell a child, or threaten a child. And so that night it got really bad, and I suppose he was at a place where he felt like he couldn't take it, and he literally told me, Mom, I want to die. And my response was, I was thinking in my mind, he's of age. Will he try to take his own life? I was scared, and it was after hours, it was nighttime. I called the therapist that he was seeing at the time, and I told her, and I said, I'm not certain what to do, but I'm obviously scared. I'm not, sure if at this age he will do something to try to harm himself. Please help me. How can you advise me? So she gave us an emergency appointment. We came in the next day, and she spoke to him in detail alone about what happened and asked him to, trust her, to confide in her about how he was feeling. And, she did everything she needed to do as a professional to make sure that he was all right and that he was not going to harm himself. And next thing I know, maybe a few days later, DCFS shows up at the door, and the therapist had reported Mr. Wade for being abusive towards Zaire.
You've been around since this custody battle has been going on, and I know Siohvaughn is your friend. I know you love her dearly. How do you feel about the children?
I love them. When I was introduced to Siohvaughn and I met her children, in that moment I was going through a transition that I lost a sister. Her husband killed her in front of her children. To me, it was an opportunity that what I couldn't do for my own nephews, I was doing it for those children.
Siohvaughn, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because it's obvious you're fighting for your children. What are you going to do?
I'm going to pray, and I'm going to continue to fight. I'm going to do everything that I can do. At the end of the day, as I look back and my children reflect back, I will know this and they will know this. I did everything that I possibly could.
Did money, do you believe, in your opinion, and I'm gonna ask you too, honestly, do you believe that money and fame afforded Mr. Wade the custody of your children? Or do you feel as though that he could be a good parent, but maybe the court truly did think, when I say the court outside of the psychologists and the experts that was appointed in the court, do you think that maybe it was some other external factors that the court maybe found that he was a better fit parent than you?
Absolutely, I do. I absolutely do. I have no question about it. It was very biased to me. If somebody were to ask me what do I, think about it? If I could sum it up, I would tell you I didn't get a fair shake, not even from the beginning.
As you all can see, we are in the car with Larry. He was the actual chauffeur.
Welcome back to Real Talk with Kietta. I'm sitting here talking to Siohvaughn Wade, Dwayne Wade's ex-wife, and I do realize you have your own identity, so I'm just gonna call you Siohvaughn, okay?
Thank you.
Siohvaughn, I'm reverting back to the conversation we just had a minute ago before we went to break, and you were saying how you were cut off financially from Dwayne. You didn't even have enough money to pay for food at Publix for your children. Yet I'm sitting here looking at an order. This is an order that I'm looking at right here. In 2008, it was ordered that the petitioner, his office, his officers, agents, employees, and attorneys are hereby enjoined and restrained, which means they cannot, okay, by court order, from selling, assigning, transferring, pledging, mortgaging, encumbering, squandering, dissipating, withdrawing, or otherwise dealing with any transactions, real estate, or any other property or assets in his possession or under his control until further order of this court. Okay? You remember this order?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In the same order, it also awards you, says from the funds remaining after the payments and disbursements that was described in the previous paragraph. It states that the balance shall be dispersed 75% of Dwayne's salary to himself and 25% to you, what's left over. So without prejudice, so I'm trying to figure out why you were broke.
Because Mr. Wade didn't comply with that order. I understand what the order said I was entitled to and the court ordered him to do, but he didn't comply with that order.
So he was never held in contempt?
No, he was not. I mean, we filed motions addressing that issue and asking the court to enforce that order multiple times, at least 5 times. But, nothing was ever done about it. There was actually a judge, Judge Fernandez, that herself just orally vacated that injunction order. That's that order that awarded me some sort of money for myself to be able to live.
Well, I'm sitting here also looking at an order where it's the 5th time that you all are asking to rule to show cause for indirect civil contempt. I don't understand. I'm just asking. I'm sorry. And this is nothing directed towards, Dwayne, personally, but I'm asking. From my understanding, if you're held in contempt of court and you blatantly disregard what the court orders, you can be prosecuted. So have you guys not asked for that? And when I say you guys, I'm sorry, have your attorneys not asked for that? Have they not presented this to the court effectively? Why is it that he's in contempt, yet nothing has happened to him criminally? Because that's a crime to blatantly disrespect or to disregard what the court has ordered.
It has been filed. It's been filed numerous times, and it hasn't just been a complaint on its face. There was plenty of attachments, affidavits. There was proof attached to those motions stating the funds that I lacked. There were bank statements of Mr. Wade showing millions of dollars that he had, yet not paying the 25%. There was proof of all of that. I had gotten a phone call from the car company that I use who told me, Ms. Wade, if there's another missed payment, my car was going up for repossession. There was evidence as to all of that, but nothing was done.
Well, did you know in May of 2008, I'm just wondering, the same year that you were saying that you couldn't use your bank card to buy food, he bought his mother a nearly $2 million church. Now, you all were still legally married, so that was considered marital assets. Did you know about that transaction?
No, I didn't. I found out about it afterward, that he purchased the building for her and even the price of the building.
In May of 2010, you were actually arrested for failure to appear in court. Can you explain why you were arrested and what happened and why didn't you show up for court?
I actually was there. I was at a coffee shop. There's a corner bakery right outside of the Daily Center. And I was there waiting on my attorney. But my attorney at that time, Marsha Fisher, was actually in a car accident on the Stevenson Expressway, and her car was totaled. And I was told that, you know, she had to be taken to the doctor or the hospital or something like that. She had to seek medical attention, and that the court hearing would be rescheduled. I found out later that the court hearing actually still went forward, even though she'd been in a car accident where her car was totaled and she needed medical attention. And I didn't know that it was going forward because at that time, 2 women showed up at my house from DCFS and told me that yet another therapist had reported Mr. Wade for child abuse. And they came unannounced. They told me that they had to do it anonymously to not give me a heads up. And they were at my house and wanted to do an interview. And so I was conducting an interview with DCFS after, you know, the therapist reported Mr. Wade, and I had no idea that all that was going on.
So you were actually at the courthouse.
I
with the
was.
intention to go. Your attorney was actually in a car accident on her way to the courthouse to be with you, to represent you. So you were under an impression the court date was changed because you didn't have any representation, that she couldn't be there because of a car accident.
Yes.
You left and you had no idea that the court hearing was still going on.
I had absolutely no idea whatsoever. My understanding was my attorney needed medical attention and she was going to get it, and she was in a pretty bad car accident.
Well, do you read the tabloids and the blogs and the papers?
I try not to.
Well, do you really, since you try not to, I'm going to tell you if you're okay with it. I'm just going to keep it 100 with you.
Okay.
You know they paint you as pretty much crazy, erratic. They paint you as a person that's mentally unstable.
We have another opinion yet by another man. And what's your opinion about Dwayne Wade and Siohvaughn court case?
That man deserved to have his kids.
And why would you say that?
There's something wrong with his wife.
Because of what?
She's sickly in the head.
Well, what make you think she's sick in the head?
Man, she was in court. Everybody saw that on the news and in the newspaper. She take medicine and she mustn't take it that day.
See, again, so you heard it from the newspaper and the TV. You read it from the newspaper that she takes medicine?
Dude.
Oh, she does?
Yes.
Okay, and you know that for a fact because it was printed in the paper?
There you go.
Okay, all right. Again, we have another person that has formulated their opinion about what was based off the media. Now, Siohvaughn, I'm going to ask you straight up, is this true? Because everybody needs to realize, contrary to what you or how you believe things are, Real Talk with Kietta is going to tell you how things really are.
You say this: the court-appointed forensic psychiatrist did not deem you mentally unstable.
Right.
So with that being said, what do you have to say about the perception that people have of Siohvaughn Wade?
Well, more so than the perception, I would like to address the source of it. I do believe that it's come from Mr. Wade.
Okay.
And I know that Mr. Wade is in no position himself, educationally, you know, mentally, to diagnose me with anything or assess me psychologically. I would be very surprised if Mr. Wade could spell the word psychological, let alone diagnose me with something. So I don't spend my time worrying about that. If I took the time to address each and every criticism or accusation that he made towards me or that they released to the press, I wouldn't have had time to constructively build and help my children. I was too busy transferring my children back and forth to therapy and to school and sitting down doing homework with them and consoling them, you know, and taking them to the doctors when they almost drowned in the pool. I had real serious things going on in my life, and I just didn't have time to sit and play that media game with him.
Well, just for the record, and let it be clear, you have never been on medication for any type of mental illness?
I don't have any type of mental illness. I don't take any type of psychological drugs or anything like that. And there was a forensic psychiatrist that was involved.
And she agreed, and she said that you didn't have any mental illness.
And she also said that the children should be with me, their mom.
Yes,
and I don't believe that that woman, being a neutral party, as experienced and as qualified as she is, would have deemed me insane and then said, send the children with her. It just simply wouldn't have happened.
Okay. Now, Siohvaughn, in the paper it reads that you've been represented by 12 different lawyers from 6 different firms. Is there a particular reason as to why you have went through so many attorneys?
Yeah, there's a few reasons.
Okay.
One of them is I had co-counsel almost the entire time. I had a lawyer working with me from the very beginning, Doreen Marcus, and she was basically doing it by herself. So there was always another law firm that was utilized to help her be co-counsel in this case. There's obviously a lot of issues litigated in this case, as you can see. So we always had help. But Miss Marcus, her husband died. And shortly after, Mr. Wade sued her. It was a lot, you know. There was another set of lawyers that I had, and he sued them. And so they didn't work for me anymore. There was another lawyer I had, unfortunately, that even had to ask the appellate court to give more time to respond because she was dealing and fighting cancer while representing me. There's many things that have caused, me to have different lawyers and different law offices. There are attorneys that felt the things that were being done to both myself and the children were very unjust and even corrupt, and they got off the case. So there's several reasons why.
I have a copy right here of a stop payment that was made for a check that was given to you from Dwayne Wade. This was dated back in October of last year. Why was this check stopped?
I'm not certain why it was stopped, but I know that that was the only money I was given for the month. And I know that I didn't have enough money at that time as well to pay my bills. And so, I incurred late fees, and I was fighting so that things wouldn't get reported to the credit bureau, and things like that it wouldn't happen what happened with my car. I didn't want it to be where I was in another position where a vehicle of mine or something was being threatened to be repossessed. I'm not certain why, he stopped payment on the check. I just know that my bank alerted me and told me that I had a fee that I had to pay because that check had bounced. Somebody had stopped the payment and I tried to cash it.
In March of 2011, Siohvaughn, after this ugly court battle, after you were painted in the media as a villain, as an unstable person, which, of course, I don't have to refute it. The forensic psychiatrist already deemed that, and we all know that, and your family knows, and everybody who knows that's not the case. But unfortunately, this is how you were painted. Dwayne was granted custody in 2011. Now, did this come as a total surprise to you?
Yes, it did. I think that I was very disappointed, which means I must have had some sort of faith in what's supposed to be the justice system. Justice is supposed to be blind, which means when I walked in the courtroom, they weren't supposed to see an NBA star and a gold medalist and then, oh yeah, and the wife. It's supposed to be blind. And if justice is blind, they wouldn't have been able to see anybody. They would have just justly ruled, And so I was very surprised at that, to have those sort of people come and testify on my behalf, to have doctors, involved and speak about the abuse, to have the forensic psychiatrist say that, Mr. Fist is real. Zaire didn't make that up. His dad has punched him in his chest before.
I also read a transcript from his stepmother. His stepmother also stated that she knows Mr. Fist because Dwayne's father used Mr. Fist with them. I mean, so it's documented that Mr. Fist is real, yet he was still given custody. What was the judge's name that gave Dwayne custody of the children?
Her name is Renee Goldfarb.
Okay. What was the judge's name that actually granted Dwayne temporary possession of the children back in 2010?
Judge Faye Fernandez.
Okay. We're going to speak more about this when we get back. We'll talk with Kietta. Welcome back to Real Talk with Kietta. I'm sitting here having an explosive conversation with Siohvaughn Wade. And when I say explosive, I'm just floored at what I have witnessed, what I've been reading. The same judge that gave or granted Dwayne immediate temporary possession of the children back in 2010 was actually transferred from juvenile court because she ruled a father was not guilty of sexually abusing his children because the man's Sicilian background gave him different ideas about nudity. Now, this is also the same judge that a decision that she made in your case was actually overturned by the appellate court, and they say that she abused her discretion. Now, has it been corrected?
No, when the appellate court deemed that Faye Fernandez had abused her discretion, they reversed the case and they remanded it, which means you had to correct the error. It has not been corrected yet.
I mean, so they ruled that her decision was not proper, yet you still have not been heard to have this corrected.
That is correct. No, I haven't.
Well, Siohvaughn, when Judge Fernandez actually granted Dwayne immediate temporary possession of the children, what happened at the hearing?
I was denied a hearing. Judge Faye Fernandez denied me my right to even be heard that day. I didn't have a lawyer, but I certainly had a right to represent myself in the proceeding and have a hearing.
Okay. Well, I want to show you something, Siohvaughn. Dwayne did an interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and I'm going to have to turn the cameras off because due to legal reasons, we can't show this video. I want you to look at this video, and I want you to tell me what your thoughts are with this video that Dwayne did on Oprah's Next Chapter. We're back. Siohvaughn had a chance to view the video of Oprah's Next Chapter, the interview that she did with Dwayne. And Oprah made sure she made the statement that you can't believe everything that you read in the media. She said to Dwayne, on Father's Day, you had asked for your sons to be with you, and they weren't where they were supposed to be. I'm asking you, Siohvaughn, where were they?
Well, on Father's Day, the children were with their father, so I'm not certain why that was said. But the day before, June 16th, the children were with me in the backyard in the pool playing.
Can you show me?
Yes.
Okay.
Siohvaughn, during the week of June 8th, 2012, you started your visitation with your children for that week. Can you tell me what happened during that time?
Well, actually, I was supposed to start the visitation June 8th.
Okay.
I actually didn't get to see my children until June 9th because they were a day late arriving.
Where were they?
I'm not certain. I still haven't found out, exactly what the problem was or why they were late. No one called me or told me. Both myself and the parenting coordinator were for hours trying to find out where the children were.
So you were, I'm guessing, I know you had to be chaotic. You had no idea where your children were. So did you get any resolve with that? I mean, when they arrived, I guess June 9th, right?
Yes.
When they arrived on June 9th, how was that to see your children?
It was very beautiful, but unfortunately they were pretty sleepy because I guess they were up all night with the traveling. And so I was very happy. I was very excited to see them, but especially the younger one, they were pretty exhausted.
Well, but during that week, during that visitation, now you were arrested on June 16th for allegedly kidnapping, child abduction. Can you tell me what was going on with that?
Well, I actually was in the pool in the backyard with my children here playing. We were all in the swimming pool. My mom was over. My granny was over that day, my friend Najee, and we were playing and enjoying ourselves. And the next thing I know, police are here.
So, Siohvaughn, since the children were allegedly late, June 8th, showing up, did you think you were in any violation on June 16th of not returning the children back to Dwayne on time?
No, I did not.
And you say that with such conviction. Were you actually shocked when you were arrested?
I absolutely was in shock. I ended up having a full-blown asthma attack and literally passing out. I was unconscious for a certain period of time.
And when all of this was going on, did you even know why you were being arrested?
No, ma'am. There was an officer, I suppose. I'm not sure. He was in plain clothes, but he was saying that I had violated a court order. And I asked him, can I please see the court order that I supposedly violated because I'm not aware of any court order. And he pulled out from his back pocket a blank sheet of paper and pulled it back in. And I was telling him, sir, there's absolutely nothing on that paper. Please show me the court order that you're saying that I violated. And I asked him if I'm allowed to please call my attorney because I'm certain if there's a court order entered, my attorney would be aware of that. And maybe this can be cleared up. But
well, during those times, have Dwayne ever been late bringing the children to you during your visitation period?
Yes, he has.
Approximately how many times did you say?
Maybe 7-8 times. June 8th was the the latest time that he had done it, and that was actually during this same visitation period.
But during any of these times that he allegedly, brought the children to you late, have you at any time called the police on him for him bringing the children late?
No, I have not.
And why was that, I'm wondering?
Because there's another way to resolve something like being late, something of that nature.
What do you really believe the reason that the police was called on you? Is there a bigger picture here, or do you really feel as though that he thought the children were in danger?
No, I don't. I know for a fact he didn't think the children were in danger. Absolutely not. The police were over the phone with him, and they said that they saw me and the children in the pool in the backyard playing.
Oh, the police witnessed the children playing in the backyard?
Yes, they did.
So it was obvious from the police perspective the children were not in danger?
Absolutely, and it was also obvious that I had not kidnapped the children, since we were actually in our own backyard in the pool.
So on June 16, 2012, when your daughter was arrested, what happened that day?
We were out in the pool with the children, playing in the pool, and the next thing I know is I hear a commotion. The next thing I know, my daughter's arrested.
We'll be right back with Real Talk with Kietta. Keep it locked.
Siohvaughn, you were actually charged with 2 counts of attempted child abduction and 2 counts of unlawful visitation interference. However, the charges were dropped.
Yes, they were.
How were you even charged with a crime of that magnitude when you all were in the backyard playing in the pool?
They said that they had a court order that was violated, and so they were charging me with that. But upon the dropping of the charges, they said no such court order existed.
DCFS also investigated you for the alleged child abduction charges, and they also found this to be unfounded.
They did. They investigated me and my friend Najee. And the DCFS charges against Najee for allegedly striking Zaire in the head were also unfounded.
Even though in the media it has been portrayed that Dwayne's older sister Tregill was at the property to pick up the children on this date of arrest, in fact that was not true. It was Dwayne's younger sister that came to the property of Siohvaughn Wade to collect the children. In the court document, Dwayne's younger sister did in fact state that she made no attempt to either call Siohvaughn Wade or knock on the door to collect the children. Now I'm going to revert back to the interview on Oprah's Next Chapter that Dwayne did. And I'm going to say what he said about as far as the relationship he wants his children to have with you. I encourage, I love, and excited for them to go to see their mom.
Yeah, that just sound like a lie. Okay. That man don't even use the word excited. That's not even a part of his vocabulary. You see what I'm saying? Just stuff like that. And excited. When was the last time you said he was excited? It's ridiculous.
When was the last time you saw your children?
This time it's been over 3 weeks in a row.
And as far as him stating that, and I'm just asking you because I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly and I've done my research correctly. Before this interview that he did on Oprah's Next Chapter, his lawyers actually filed an emergency motion to suspend your visitation rights in both Illinois and Florida. After this was filed, he stated that he encouraged and loved and excited for them to see you. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are the motion speaks for itself. They said that I was late. He asked as a consequence of that for me not to be able to see the children, which means the children wouldn't be able to see their mother.
So with that being said, because you are allegedly late returning the children to Dwayne, charges were filed against you. Now, has he ever been late bringing the children to you?
Yes, he has. As a matter of fact, he was late at the beginning of that same visitation period. I was supposed to be with my children on June 8th, and I didn't see my children until June 9th. For several hours, I didn't know where my children were at. The parenting coordinator, Karen Shields, she didn't know where the children were at. And hour after hour went by without us knowing where the children were and if they were even going to come home.
Were you aware that the parenting coordinator appointed by the court, Ms. Karen Shields,
used to be a former partner of Dwayne Wade's attorney, Mr. Pritikin?
No, I didn't know that at first. I just found that out more recently.
Shouldn't this be considered a conflict of interest? After all, she was a former partner of Dwayne Wade's current attorney.
And also more recently, I was supposed to see my children after the Olympics, but Mr. Wade took them to Switzerland during my parenting time, so I wasn't able.
Well, were you aware of this?
I wasn't at first, no.
Well, he must have went to jail. You went to jail for being late, so.
No.
Okay. Siohvaughn, what type of resolve do you want to see for you and your children?
I want to see what's right being done. I want to see justice prevail. I want my children to be back at home with me where they belong. And prior to that, I was supposed to be with my children in Florida, but Mr. Wade had the children taken out of the state of Florida and brought to Chicago, so I wasn't able to exercise that parenting time with them either. And I didn't know about that until I spoke with my sons over the phone, and they were crying, saying, "Mom, we're in Chicago, how come you haven't saw us?" And I didn't even know that they were here.
Siohvaughn, I want to thank you so much for opening up your home to me and sharing this personal story. You could have shared this with anyone else on television, but you chose me, and I appreciate that. I'm also so proud of you that you have decided that you do have an identity. You are somebody, and you are pursuing your dreams. You're in law school, and I know you're going to be an excellent lawyer. I mean, you've been to court enough. I also want to commend you on your nonprofit, where you actually help others speak out about domestic violence. That's important. And I hope everybody knows that never be afraid to speak out about domestic violence. It happens to the best of us. I love you. I thank you all for watching today. Real Talk with Kietta.
Real talk, hey, something that we bring to you. Real talk, baby, it's something that you tune into. I'm talking real talk, babe. I'm talking real talk. I'm talking real talk, babe. I'm talking real talk. I'm talking real talk, babe. I'm talking real talk. I'm talking real